Again, Mr. Wilson, as you know, I've been in business for 40 years, 30 years before I got here, and I know firsthand, and I've hired a lot of minorities and people that were on welfare over the years, and many people might start at 25, and then they, because of the culture our companies have been able to build, we build a culture where we develop and train and move people up the ladder. They might start at 25 or 30 or minimum wage, and then they're making 80 to 100,000 today. When I look at a lot of our minorities are making that kind of money locally. But what they need is an opportunity. They need a shot, and we need more employers stepping up. When I look at Florida, it's like deja vu. We had the big time hit in 2008, as you know, 9, 10, 11. We shredded a lot of jobs, but it's back. You mentioned, I think in your testimony, 1,000 a day. Coming to Florida, you need 800,000 jobs. What's the Florida Chamber, and more importantly, the business community going to do about stepping up and making sure, especially as we look at, you know, in terms of welfare, the number I've got is out of 3 that are in welfare, 2 can work. What are we going to do about getting those 2 to work, in your opinion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate your leadership in Florida as a business leader as well, and I think that's indicative in your question as well. What are we going to do in Florida? I think the number one thing we have to think about is awareness. The truth is, someone on the panel mentioned culture, and most business leaders started as a small business. They actually want to grow their company. They want to create economic opportunity for their employees and for people in the community. And I can't stress enough the importance hearings like this make, raising the awareness. It's the reason that I'm here today, the awareness that there are people who want jobs and need training, and there are programs for those individuals. So matchmaking is one of the things that we're doing in Florida. I would also add what we're doing is aligning. There are many resources in this workforce system, some public, some private. They haven't always been aligned to the benefit of the person who needs the training and the person who needs the job. There are over 80 programs receiving state and federal money. They're not very well connected. They're not aligned. What we're doing in Florida is through CareerSource Florida, which is an award-winning workforce system in this country, we're aligning what the job seekers need by training with assistance with what the employers need. Last year alone in Florida, they served over 124,000 companies and placed over 430,000 individuals into work positions that they wouldn't have otherwise found without that coordination between businesses.
We've got about 5 minutes, so thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Blaine, I want to talk to you. You know, just reading the background of the company, you're the guy that was CEO or started that company, to me, was a visionary. It's not something you've been doing the last couple of years, but for 20 years, you've been reaching out to the welfare community and others, people underemployed, and helping them and working with them, hundreds of employees in that predicament in Grand Rapids, Michigan. What was his motivation? And then just in general, how much difference has it really made over the years in Grand Rapids, Michigan?
Actually, Mr. Fred Keller has had a huge impact on Cascade Engineering itself, but probably an equally large impact on West Michigan and the Grand Rapids community. And you know, in 1973, when he started this business, he wanted to create a business that could make money, but also treat people with dignity and respect. Right? He wanted to create a culture of inclusion. And so someone talked about the stigma of welfare. And so we try to create an environment where people want to be at Cascade Engineering. We talk about an environment where people coming out of generational poverty may not have worked in that environment before. And so unless you give them the tools to be successful, they won't be successful. One of the greatest things we did was when we partnered with DHS, Department of Health and Human Services in Michigan, they embedded themselves in that business so that they understood what we needed as a business. They became a partner for us. We worked together. So when she's out there looking at people that are on welfare, and she understands the opportunity that we're providing. If a person is just merely send someone to Cascade Engineering without understanding the skill sets needed in manufacturing, they're going to fail. And so I think that's been one of the great things. So having an individual that understands inclusion, having a company that is very accepting of all the different types of backgrounds, and then also having the state understand our business has created a partnership that has allowed us to be successful.
Well, thank you. Now I'd like to